hurts.
It's awful. I just like get to the point where right now I don't even know what to tell people anymore, you know? It's like
Yeah.
crazy
Right.
pants.
It is. It's crazy.
The Maroon Group in where? Where do I say?
Like Southeast Virginia, Hampton Roads, Virginia.
Hampton Roads, Virginia.
Yeah.
That sounds very nice.
Yeah.
Like very like Hallmarky.
It's yes. It's this is where they founded Hallmark in Hampton Roads, Virginia.
Yes.
It's not, but that'd be amazing.
All right, friends, we are live and we are joined today by our good friend Garrett Maroon, who's in Southeast Virginia.
Yep. Yeah. Hampton
Southeast
Roads,
Virginia.
the home of Hallmark. Yes, according to Lindsay.
Yes, he's in the Hallmark town of Southeast Virginia. That sounds Hampton Roads, very cute and charming. We don't have anything that cute and charming up here. But yes, so we are really excited that Garrett's here today because he runs a monster business there in Virginia and super smart, super out of the box thinker. We were just chatting offline about what's happening here in Denver. Angela's about 45 minutes south of me in a little bit smaller of a town, although not so much anymore, but it's growing. But yeah, I mean, here, you know, last year we were seeing offers go maybe like 40 to 50, maybe 60,000 above ask, but 40 to 50, I would say, you know, and all of a sudden this month in January, we're seeing things go like 1 to 200 above list, which is insanity. And, you know, I've been reading all these stories of people that had 300 offers over the last 2 weekends. Like, I mean, you know, we've talked on the show before about like not needing to price low as a listing agent if this is the market. And I think that's a lot of what's happening, that agents are still pricing low. But I mean, it's just like bonkers. And I think everyone across the whole country is feeling like, what the hell do we do to be able to get our buyers under contract, you know? So Garrett was asking like how many offers we're writing until a deal gets accepted. And like, I would say right now I'm at like 12 or 13 offers. And we're doing, I mean, we have an appraisal waiver. So we're doing full appraisal gap. We're doing as is on inspection. Like we're doing all the things and we're still getting our asses handed to us. So it's
crazy.
It's awful.
Do y'all think it's because, is it like the leftover, I mean, obviously it's February 1st today, but it's like these leftover buyers from last year that just kept getting beat up. And now they show up this year with like, okay, we have more cash. We're just not going to keep losing. And then they're the ones that are spending all the money. I mean, I think that's what's going on. But obviously our market's different. But do you think that's what's happening?
I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, probably. Like the people that got beat up really bad last year, that this year are like, all right, we're just going to come in like swinging.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe it's not true, but if I'm a buyer that's starting finally in January, it would take a lot for me to immediately jump in and say, okay, I'll go 150 over and I'll guarantee an appraisal. You know, I think most buyers would think I need to lose a couple before I'm convinced that I really need to do that. But, you know, I don't know. But I am curious what kind of buyer that is going on in this market. I don't know. It's strange. It's a
I
tough market
see
for sure.
In Colorado Springs, I'm seeing a lot of people that didn't get houses last year that are from out of state that are coming in here because they're frustrated from not getting houses in the state they really want to live in. So they're like, okay, well, I'll live in Colorado because it's close enough to all the other things that I want to do. And, you know, it's still affordable for them. And so we're seeing a lot of those folks, and they have a ton of cash influx. So that's what we're seeing down here quite a bit of.
I mean, here,
we've seen some of that.
It's a big point, you know, that like people who've lived in Colorado a really long time don't understand that we are affordable, even with $100,000 to $200,000 on top of an asking price compared to a lot of the country. Like, what's your average sales price? Well, you're in a littler town, but what's your average sales price where you are?
Yeah, Hampton Road, 350, not that high.
We're gonna send everyone to Hampton Roads, Virginia after that.
No, you're not. Ask them what his taxes are.
Yeah, they're pretty high. But
Mhm.
we do have, so it's funny because we've got Northern Virginia and the Washington D.C. crowd, and so we do have a lot of people not coming out of state like you said, Angela, but coming from up there where they're
Yeah.
used to spending $1.5 million, and they come down here like this is crazy cheap. Buy
Right.
a $600,000 house and it's no big deal, and they already had cash because they needed a down payment, so they're fine.
Yeah.
So
And
we
we have
definitely see a lot of that. Yeah, and we have every single military branch in Hampton Roads, so we see a lot of them. It depends, right? Everything is from your perspective. You come from an area like California, you come here like, wow, everything's cheap. We've had plenty of people that come from, Georgia, and for 180,000, they get 3 acres and a
Yeah.
2,500 square foot renovated house, and we're like, well, good luck finding a one bath that is completely needs to be gutted. You're not even going to find that. For y'all,
Yeah.
that barely even scratches the surface of anything, I imagine. So it's all the perspective. Yeah, it's interesting to see where buyers are coming from.
Yeah, we have a ton of VA influence here. We have lots of military installations here, including the Air Force Academy and a massive Army base. So we've got a ton of military here too. So that absolutely drives our market, and it's driving up our, average sales price here from what used to be, 350 to 400, where you guys are at, up to now our median sales price is around 500 to 550. BH has gone up a little bit, but it's certainly not commensurate with the increase in the housing market here. So it's a tough spot.
I feel for those VA buyers. Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, buying a house, no money down. You're getting your earnest money deposit back, maybe some debt payoff, whatever it is, and now it's congratulations, your VA. Doesn't matter. You need to put $50,000 down, or you need to do an appraisal guarantee, or whatever. And it's it's still a good loan, but I feel for those people that are trying to take advantage of using a VA. It's just a tough market. It's just hard in general. So good for you, Angela, for getting your own house. That's
yeah, and we bought it on a VA loan with no money down, no appraisal gap.
That's funny. Well, so just tell everybody how you did that, and then you're good. Yeah, renovate it and then sell it, and you'll make like $400,000.
Very low end, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I think a lot of it is just no inventory too. I mean, it's like that nationally, right? So, I mean, there are just, it's supply and demand, simple economics, right? It's funny, like everyone thinks that like a market crash is coming and they're terrified of it. It's literally just simple economics. We don't have enough product for the number of buyers out there, right? Everyone's like, it's overinflation. It's a big time correction really fast, but I don't know about overinflated.
Right.
So
only really strong buyers are getting houses, right? I mean, you can't be a social buyer and win a deal in this market. So yeah, I mean, obviously anything can happen, but I do think that the strength of the market, the requirements of the lenders, the amount of down payment, I forget what it was, Lindsay, but I'm glad you said it. I think it was like in 2008 when we had the crash, the average buyer only put like 5% down, and now it's like 17%. So there's a lot more cash in play for buyers putting down, which is good for the market. Like you said, there's not an overabundance of homes. The lending practices are really tight. It's a much smaller percentage of people doing adjustable rate mortgages. So, I mean, anything can happen, but it is very unlikely. We're in a bubble. None of the indications of what happened in 2008 are anywhere close to where we are now. So it's just an insane market. I mean, that's just what's actually going on.
It is. So you said something really interesting there. I wanted to kind of kick off by asking you anyways. So when your team is looking at like working with clients, what type of expectation conversations are you having up front with buyers? And is your team being very selective about not working with buyers that can't play in the market? Because we're seeing a lot of, so our market is insane, right? We got 3,000 houses in the whole MLS right now on the market, and we've got almost 50,000 licensed real estate agents, right? It's a bloodbath.
Wow.
Bloodbath. So, but what we're seeing a lot of is like, Angela May, one agent, right, may say to a buyer, this is unrealistic, much love, very kindly and tactfully, professionally, but this isn't going to happen. And we tell them that, and then they kind of go like agent shopping, and then other agents are telling them, absolutely, I can get that done for you. And then we're losing clients, which kind of weren't clients that we could or should work with in the first place. But there's a lot of that going on right now. So how are you guys kind of like screening people? How are you having those expectation conversations? Because I think as real estate agents, we have got to get really good about expectation conversations like today.
Yeah, that's first of all, great point, and I'll respond, but briefly to what you said. I do think one of the challenges is there are a lot of new agents. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with being a new agent. We all were new agents at one point, right? But there are new agents who either their broker or their team, or they are just unwilling to be skilled themselves. And it's the easiest thing in the world to just tell somebody what they want and then say, let's go do it, right? And well, whatever. And then they write a contract and they actually win, but guess what? They can't manage their clients' emotions and expectations, so they walk away. And it's a tough market because there are a lot of new agents getting involved. We see that a lot on the listing side as well. But from an expectation standpoint, we are absolutely safe. So there are many times where I'm saying, and like you are, unfortunately, my entire business is referrals, so is our team. So we have people coming to us with a pretty high level of trust already. Just yesterday, I was talking to someone and they said, well, this is, get ready to upgrade our home. This is what we're looking for. Our budget is about $400,000, X, Y, and Z. And so, and my first response was, guys, I need to tell you this because I really care about you. There's no way we're going to make this happen. That budget is not big enough. From my understanding of what you're telling me, you do not have enough cash to compete in this market. So we either need to change your expectations, reduce the price that you're looking for so you can play and you can go 50 grand up if you have to try to win, plus an appraisal guarantee, or you guys need to figure out a way to get more cash. And that's totally up to you. It's also okay if you choose not to buy, but I want you to know if you're trying to upgrade, you better have some real cash, right? You better be willing to pull the trigger the day that we go see it. The minute that we're done, we need to decide to pull the trigger on this house. So like you said, Lindsay, everything is expectations, right? And it doesn't mean that they're all going to listen. People don't listen in general, but setting the expectations of you need to have a lot of cash. There's probably going to be a lot of competition. And one thing we've been doing, Lindsay, that's been really helpful is we will track. So we have a list of, so we've got 19 that we've closed so far this year. We have a list of everything, every client that we have, how many times they made offers, what they offered, when it lost, when it won. And so and that's helpful for us, but we're sitting down with our clients and saying, I want you to know, I'm not just speaking in generalities here or hypothetically. We've had X amount of clients, the average person offering, $35,000 over list price, and they're not winning. So I need you to understand that when we go see a house and I tell you you need to offer up here, it's not because I want you to spend money, it's because I want you to have a chance to win. So using real data that is pursuant to our market and what we've experienced is really helpful. And so that would be, a suggestion that I'd have for anybody. So then you're using actual numbers that it's very helpful for someone to actually accept and understand what's going on.
I love that. If agents are listening and they don't have a portfolio of enough data that they've sold recently, go to your brokerage, go to your team, go to a friend in the market. You should even be able to go into the MLS and pull that. So usually somewhere in the MLS, if you have to hand calculate it, that sucks, but usually there's a field that shows sold price over list price, which would give you the percentage or the dollar amount on average that offers are going. It's not going to tell you how much cash people had down, whether they did appraisal waivers, what they did on inspection. So ideally you want to get that information from somebody who does have that data themselves. But Garrett, that's brilliant.
That's good. Well, yeah, and to that point too, I mean, if we didn't have the data, I would say, okay, great. Tell me what you're interested in. Awesome. You want to see this house? It's amazing. Hey, this house is listed for whatever, $450. Awesome. Let me show you the houses that are within a half mile that have sold within the last 3 months, whatever it is. Here's what the list price was, like you said, Lindsay. Here's what it sold for, right? So I want you to have an understanding and an expectation. Of course, I'm going to try to get you the best deal, but I'm going to try to actually get you the house. And sometimes I think agents need to be spending more time talking about it's not about the price of the house. It's about the cost of the monthly expense and understanding how, for us, I tell people all the time, a $400,000 house at 3% interest rate is the same cost to you as the same house at, $400,000 at 4% is the same cost as $450,000 at 3%, right? We're talking about a number, and you're obsessed with this price number when it doesn't matter. It's what can you afford, right? That's what ultimately matters. And so I think a lot of it is a lack of skill. And by the real estate agents in the market, to be honest. I think, like you said, Lindsay, it's the agents are being commoditized to some degree. And so if you don't tell me what I want, I'll go find somebody else who will tell me what I want. And that's doing a disservice to everyone in the marketplace. But that's the reality of what's happening. It's definitely challenging.
Yeah. I do think, Garrett, that when you're working with the military community, they are much better at thinking about things and monthly output. So that's really helpful. That they don't really understand, how much $400,000 a month equates to in a mortgage payment. But you can drastically change, affordability for a client on a VA loan just by breaking it down in monthly payments and saying, hey, look, you guys really need to pay off this debt. And if you pay off this debt, we can afford to go up to, an extra $45,000. And it's a huge deal for you because that extra $200-$300 a month, that's money we should be spending on a house, not money we should be spending on your Star card, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Yeah.
And last week we talked about, we talked with a lender, an amazing lender who gave us tons of info last week. But, we talked last week about agents needing to be more well-versed on the lending side of things so that they can have these conversations knowledgeably with people. So if you are, working with buyers, get with your preferred lender, find a lender. I don't really care who it is. Learn all the loan programs, the loan types, the qualifications, learn about debt payoff, learn how to structure things to make things most advantageous, good Lord, to people. Because, we've got to get creative and to know how payments and things and loans work. I think right now is like number one on how you can maybe learn how to be creative.
Yeah.
And I think to both of your points, I've been in the industry for 8 years, but it has never been more apparent whether someone is a skilled buyer agent or not. It's always been important for someone to be a skilled listing agent, and that was so much of the conversation. And buyer agent, well, all you do is show the house, and hopefully they like it, you write an offer, and you'll be fine, right? It's never been more important to have the skill set of a fantastic buyer agent. And I was even teaching my team yesterday in our one-on-ones of now more than ever, it's the time for you to work on your emotional intelligence, right? How do you help people process through their own thoughts and emotions around what they're about to do? Because there's a lot of fear, there's anxiety, there's a lot of stuff, and they're not going to pull the trigger on something if you can't help them process what they're already feeling. And so even developing ourselves in that way as a buyer agent to help our clients position themselves to actually win. And part of that expectation, like you talked about, Lindsay, but really for us, it's okay. After you show a house, you can pretty much tell, there's something going on. So just straight ask, what's going on in your head, right? Sounds like there's fear. I always give them two options, right? Or explain something to them. So, the house is for $400,000 and they want to offer $410,000, whatever. And the question that I always ask is, okay, so let me just show you what has closed, right? The average house is selling for whatever, $20,000 higher than what it's listed for. You offer 10 above. So the difference between your 10 and the 20 is only $50 a month, right? So the $10,000 gap is only $50 a month in your mortgage. How will you feel tomorrow if I call you and tell you you lost because of $50 a month, right? And if they're like, I would feel terrible about that. Okay, let's go higher, right? You know what? I feel perfectly fine with that. Okay, let's stay right where we are. That's all right, right? And then if you realize that they're only ever going to 410, well, then we probably need to start shopping at like 370, 350, right? Because then it's just an understanding of what they're willing to spend. But I think giving the expectation and helping them work through their own emotions as a buyer agent is very helpful, and helping someone process through what should they actually be offering and how will they actually feel if they lose. Now, that doesn't mean you win every time that you do that, but that is a skill set for emotional intelligence for an agency to have.
Something that I've been doing or training my agents to do when they're showing, especially our military buyers, because that's what really drives our market here. When they're going out and showing homes, I always have them call their lender ahead of time and get payments for the different price points that they might have to offer on, right, so that they're prepared ahead of time to know, like, hey, well, how much is going to cost if we offer it X? Well, it's going to be this. And I think that's just a super simple way to get ahead of it. And I think that it's super helpful for your buyer to know up front, like, then they can go and talk about it instead of you having to like call the lender and get all the, information. Then just do it ahead of time when you're scheduling your showings. It's way faster.
Yeah.
I feel like action step big time from both of you today for everyone is call your lender today and find out at today's interest rates what every $5,000 or $10,000 increment does to a monthly payment. Because what you both just said is crazy powerful, right? Like, how would you feel if you lost this house over $20 a month? That's so powerful, right? I mean, we joke about like going into a car dealership where they never will tell you what the price of the freaking car is. They will only tell you what your monthly payment is. But it's kind of, you're right. Like, that's to break it. Like, if you said that to me, listen, I understand that you feel some kind of way, whatever it is, scared, angry, prideful, whatever it is, over not wanting to offer an additional $10,000. If I called you tomorrow and told you that you lost that house over $50 a month, what would, you know, that I would be like, boom. Okay. So everyone, call your lender and find out at today's interest rates what, you know, $5,000 and $10,000 increments do to payments, so that you can go, well, an extra $10,000 is $41 a month.
Yeah, it's really, and that's really powerful. The other part that I've seen a lot of, so first-time home buyers, I think we're 35% in the market last year, which is a little bit of an uptick. But first-time home buyers, at least in our market, we're jumping from, our average first-time home buyer used to be like 220, and they jumped to like 380, 400 because they just wanted more house. And, you know, they did this big study in New York, and, you know, the percentage of people that were no longer happy with living in their small apartment, and obviously it jumped up significantly because they were locked inside and all this stuff. So I do think there's a huge reaction to that. But with these first-time home buyers, a lot of what I've run into, which I didn't expect originally, was so I'll tell you a quick story. So I was sitting down with these two buyers, really awesome people, engineers, both really smart, and they clearly love this house. And we just sat down on the floor, and I said, okay, tell me what's going on, and what they're telling me. And I kind of understood, and I said, okay, so is this accurate? Does this freak you out to buy a house this big because the cost was more than the cost of your parents' house? And they were like, yes, that is weird to me. And I said, okay, I totally understand. How much did your parents' house cost? You know, whatever it was. How much was your parents' interest rate? Do you have any idea? No. Okay, text them. Right? Great. What is their monthly payment? No idea. Right. Text it. Okay. Your monthly payment is going to be $500 less than your parents. The purchase price does not matter. Stop making decisions based on information that is not accurate or important or pertinent to the decision that we have at hand. Right? And so, like, just explore, and then they ended up buying it. Just exploring the fear that exists in the people, because they're hearing about the market's insane. And if I was a buyer and didn't know better, I'd be like, well, I'm terrified then, but I still want to try to buy a house. So I think we really do need to engage them at the emotional fear level to say, what's going on in your head? Tell me. You seem afraid. Let's talk about this because I want to understand. Doesn't mean you're going to win every house, like I said, but in my opinion, the only reason that we keep winning, you know, eventually, not on the first one, but the only reason we keep winning is because every time we lose, every time we show a house, we are still deepening the trust that our client has in us. So when I say, I hate to say this, but you got to go this high to win this house, they'll say, all right, I got it. I understand, and I know that you want what's best for me. So we have to constantly be working on their emotions, their fear, the concerns that they have, because when it comes time for you to need to push them, they need to trust you inherently. And it's not going to happen if we're not doing that work along the way.
Yeah, Aaron, this is brilliant. Oh my God, Garrett, I'm so glad we have you today. Like, you're blowing my mind with the way you're breaking stuff down too, for sure. Yeah, love the comment to stop making decisions based on fear. Very well said. Yeah, absolutely.
You told me, Lindsay, when I was like on the podcast that I specifically remember you said something like, because we were talking about all referrals, and you said, how come men don't like to work by relationship, right? And I think I said something like, well, I'm a very emotional man. So, like, I understand that there are emotions that they have to work through, and everyone from a psychology perspective is going to make an emotional decision first and then a rational decision. Literally 5% of the entire country, I don't know how they know that number, but 5% will make a rational decision first, 95% emotional. Now, it might be quick to follow the rational, but the emotions are so important, and agents tend to just focus on the rational piece, and that's not helpful. So we've got to dive into the emotions. And if you see something, call it out. They need that from you, right? And so I do think that's a hugely impactful.
But I think that agents are focusing on their own emotions too. And look, I do it. We all do it. Like, I get it. But like, so I'm training a new agent brand new, never been in the industry. And we were out on Saturday just practicing opening doors and, doing whatever it was. And I made like 6 times, I caught myself going, the one thing that you are not, and this is a person who is experienced in life, has owned homes, right? Just never been in real estate. I kept saying, the one thing that you're not allowed to do when you're walking through houses is talk about how high the price is. Like, you can't go in here and go, ooh, those floors are scratched to shit. I can't believe this is $1 million, because it's going to freak people out. It is $1 million. It's probably 1.1 by the time that we're done with offers, right? But like, I'm in my own feelings. Like, I walk into houses and I'm like, I wouldn't pay that. Or I get tripped up in when I have to call a client or say to their face, like, I need you to go $200,000 above asking. So I think we're getting stuck in our own feelings a lot too.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And I think it's okay. One of my agents has used this really impactfully as I was encouraging him. But so we had, and I'll give you 2 things, but one thing that I've been encouraging him and teaching him is it's okay to acknowledge when you call your client, you say, look, I want to tell you what I'm about to tell you, that this is hard for me to say this to you, and this would be hard for me to accept, right? And I just want you to understand that, but here's what I think we need to do. And I recognize how difficult this is, right? So just acknowledging that, it's not like I'm excited, because I still think there's a small percentage of people out there that think, oh, it's easy for you to get hired because you get more commission, and like $100, it's not worth it, But I do think acknowledging, hey, this is really hard, and I know this is going to be tough to hear. Let me say it to you anyways. Also, a trick that I've had my agents use is, again, I've studied a lot into the psychology. So I don't want to talk to the emotional brain. When it comes to making an offer or what we're going to offer, I want to talk to the rational brain, right? Well, one of the ways that we do that on our team is, for example, if I am going to tell a buyer they need to offer a lot more, or, hey, they got a ton of offers, we got to go higher, whatever it is, I'm going to text or email that to them. Hey, I'm in a meeting, but I want you to know that this is what I'm thinking, that you're going to go a little bit higher, and maybe you need to offer another $30,000, whatever it is. I'll call you as soon as I can. Did I freeze? Let's see if
Nope, you're good.
Oh, no, I didn't freeze. Okay. So I want you to know that I'll call you as soon as I can, right? Their initial response of any person from a psychology perspective is going to be emotion. I don't need to talk to that part of the brain. That's not going to be helpful. We're not going to get anywhere. We're going to just work through a bunch of stuff. We're going to be frustrated and angry, blah, blah, blah. So when I tell them, let them work through it, right, and then call them later, I'm now more likely to engage the rational brain. And we do that in everything. I mean, when we're telling a seller back in the day, when we were telling a seller the house is not worth as much as they thought, I email them the number. I'll call you as soon as I can, right? I don't want to talk to your emotional brain. I want to talk to your rational brain. And that's just a skill set that, again, we need to have and understand as agents.
Brilliant. I love that. Like, even before you said that, that's what I was thinking, is that everything that you're doing is taking away emotion, fear, anxiety, whatever those feelings are, and breaking it all back down to like reality and rationality. Amazing.
Yeah. Being counselors more than being realtors, I think, is more important in this market. And we just have to remember that's what they really need from us.
So let's shift gears and talk about, as a listing agent, the 3 of us that are on this call together, we take a lot of listings. We're top listing agents, right? Like, I hate that phrase, but it's true. Top in the country. So what is it that we are looking at? What is it that we're screening for? I guess I'll go first. I'll tell you how I do things first, and then you guys tell me. So when an offer comes across my desk, I open it up and I'm literally looking at price, closing date, rent back, appraisal, inspection, and any additional provisions. Mm-hmm. Like, just from a 10,000 foot view, I scan through it. It takes me like 3 seconds to mentally categorize whether or not I think that offer is worth a shit, or whether I'm going to put it in my dump pile, right? So it's really, really fast for me. I personally do not like phone calls. And every listing agent is different, but I think what we're trying to get at is like the commonalities. for buyer's agents to know how to deal with listing agents because it's a totally different beast and personality type. But so I don't like phone calls. I don't like them for two reasons. One is what Garrett was just talking about, the emotional toll of it. You know, if I have a listing that's hot and I'm going to get 20 offers, I'm going to accidentally build rapport and relationship with all 20 of those agents. And it breaks my heart to have to call 19 of them and tell them that they didn't get the house. It's too much for me. It's overwhelming. We've talked on the show before about how people need to give people grace. And maybe the reason that a lot of listing agents don't answer the phone is exactly that. So for me, I like a text message. I like an email. You know, like I kind of firmly believe there's nothing that shouldn't just be said in a text message in general. But so I don't like the phone calls. And I like everything clear and concise in one place. Like what I really love is when they send me an offer, I don't even have to open the offer because there's like a snapshot of what the offer is. I want the lender letter attached, and I don't want your lender to call me. That's another thing for me too. Like if I like your offer, I will call your lender because I have specific questions. And if he calls me when I'm in Target with my kid, I don't remember what they are and I'm not going to remember what he said. So that's how I feel, which sounds really cold and calloused. But I mean, you got to remember listing agents are dealing with somewhere between like 2 and 200 offers right now. It's overwhelming.
And it's not just one house.
Right.
Like
Yeah, we could have
4 listings this weekend.
Yeah, we could have 30 of them at a time. Right.
You can't physically take those phone calls. It just can't happen.
Yeah.
The number one thing on my list that I look for is I give them instructions in the MLS. Like, here's what I want you to do. And then if I go back through and I see on their offer that they didn't do it, I don't even look at it.
Yep. That gets on my nerves big time. So there was a post this weekend in Lab Code Agents where a guy went on and said something to the effect of like, why do listing agents make listings so confusing? And every top listing agent in the country went on and said, we don't, dude, you just don't read. And the guy in his post had actually said, I'm acknowledging, like he was like, I don't understand why you make everything so confusing and then you don't answer your phone. I'm acknowledging the fact that I didn't read the listing, but I'm really busy showing houses. So, you know, we spend an obscene amount of time putting our listings into the MLS, any good listing agent. And yes, there are exceptions to the rules here, right? But a top producing listing agent is going to put the listing in the MLS with everything that you need to know. And if you don't read it, I almost feel like in today's landscape, number one is don't piss off the listing agent, irritate them, annoy them. That's like the first step to getting your offer accepted. Don't make them mad. Don't not look at their instructions. Don't call them and ask them questions that are on the listing that you are paid to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's funny. I love how angry you are. So the reality of what you said, I agree. I put in my listings on the agent remarks to agents like, please do not call the listing agent. I will not answer. Because, like you said, well, number one, the point of having listings is I appreciate the leverage on my time. So I'm not going to sit there and answer everybody's call, like you said. And then you need to read fully and understand exactly what's going on. And in this market, if you're a buyer agent, there's going to be 5 other offers exactly like yours. And then it literally only comes down to which agent do I think can get this to the finish line? And if I don't think you can, or quite honestly, I'm going to be annoyed the entire way, then I'm probably not going to do it with you, right? So like, it's just not going to happen. So the relationships with other agents is key. I mean, we'll say to our seller, these will be the exact same. I know this agent. I trust this agent. Not anything can happen, but I really do believe this agent, with our help, will get this to the finish line. This is my suggestion, go with them. And so the relationship with the agent, the person, like you said, I think Angela, maybe you said it, or you did, but I love when they do send an offer that's like, here's the main terms, you know, great. Now, I would actually say, so to your point about the lender, Lindsay, for buyers, we aren't having the lender call them because no one wants that. We aren't having the lender proactively email and just say, hey, I just want you to know this is a really good buyer. They're very strong. They've got X amount of solid, you know, whatever they're going to say. And that is a little bit helpful. Anything can tip it over the edge because multiple offers going to be the exact same. So it's not coming down to numbers. It's coming down to a feel of which person can actually get this done. And I do think that's really important.
I
So-
think that
But
that's
don't worry,
something
Lindsay.
that
I
we
don't
can
want people to
put
call me
in
either.
MLS. Like we can put that like, hey, we want an email from your lender that says that they've verified the funds that they're guaranteeing that they have, that their back end
Yeah,
ratio is
good.
listed in your email to us. Like we want to know that stuff. And if your lender doesn't
Yeah.
want to tell us, that's fine. But understand that your buyer might not get the house because of it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's just all nuanced decisions. There's no clear-cut winner most of the time.
I have a question though.
Quality of the relationship. Yeah.
So every person on planet Earth who's training buyer's agents right now is telling them that the number one way to win an offer is to make a relationship or rapport with the listing agent, which is kind of why we wanted to have this conversation today with real top producing listing agents, because I don't know how much the training that they're giving people is based in reality right now. That sounds really lovely, but you have to consider what the listing agent wants, because that's what matters right now, right? So like, how would you recommend, how can you still build rapport with a listing agent without calling them on the telephone or driving them crazy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that's a very difficult one to answer because, first of all, I would say my main rule of communication for my team is communicate how they want to be communicated with. If they want to call them. If they want you to text them, text them. If they want you to email them. Like, don't go beyond what they're asking you to do. That's the first way to annoy somebody. Like you, Lindsay, if someone calls me, that bothers me. I don't want to answer. Text me and I'll respond. I don't want to get on a phone call. That's just not who I am. So understand, like you said, don't annoy that person. Number two, I would say, is it is helpful for the agents who have been around and have good relationships with other agents. That is super important. That is super valuable, right? Excuse me. You could say, so for example, we had an offer that I can't remember how many people were competing. There was a lot of people. Well, I knew the other agent. It was one of my agents on my team. I knew the listing agent. And I told my agent, I said, hey, I know there's one type of, I can't remember what it was, one type of wine I think that they really love. So why don't you put in your offer that, hey, if you take our offer, I will buy you this bottle of wine and drop it at your house, right? And we won. Now, I don't know if that's the only reason, but like just trying to go above, how much information can you learn about agents on Facebook or wherever? Like, just try to say, I'm interested in you. He didn't call and annoy the guy. That's not what he would have wanted, right? Probably wouldn't have worked, but like, hey, I just want you to know I'm so thorough that I even know what kind of wine you like, and therefore I'd love to get that for you if you take our offer, right? So just like small things like that, or understanding of, maybe this is creepy, but we'll tell our buyers, go look on Facebook and check out what you can about the seller. There's tons of info. And if they've got little kids, like just put it, or I'll put in there, hey, we really appreciate that they've got little kids. We've got a few of our own, or my buyer has a couple same age and they look forward to growing up in that same neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. Again, even sellers are going to make an emotional decision. So I think it's just the small little pieces that are going to help you stand out. That doesn't mean you win every time. You just don't. But the reality of understanding who these other people are, they're people, right? They're not robots. They're people. They want to be cared for. They want to be appreciated. And so, like you said, Lindsay, don't bother them, but then figure out what is it that they like. And why don't you just go a little bit above and beyond? Again, I don't know how many people we were competing with, but you better believe we were the only one that offered a bottle of wine, and the agent remembered our offer, right? That's very important too. So I think small touches like that go a long way.
I will say something that's worked really well for me when I was actually working with buyers myself. I have an awesome buyer's agent now, Brandy, who commented on there, so I'm glad that she's watching this. But something that I used to do was before the house went under contract, when I submitted the offer, I would send a little something to the listing agent. Now, we know as listing agents that those people are going to be going through 300 freaking offers that night. So why don't you just take care of dinner for them? Wouldn't that be something huge off their plate, literally, that you could do for them? And you can easily find like what they're into. Hey, so-and-so listing agent, just want you to know I sent dinner over for you tonight. Thank you so much for reviewing our offer. We really appreciate it. We'd love to be in the conversation. Even if there's a higher offer out there that's higher than our terms, we'd love for you to, just give us a quick call or a counter or something, and at least get us back in the room, right? And that's the way that you build relationships permanently. And then we also, find out if it's okay to send something to the seller. They're going to be going through all of this too, and it's going to be a really emotional experience for them, not just the listing agent going through all these offers. The seller is literally going to say no to 19 families, right? So that's going to be stressful for them. So why not send a little something that says, congratulations, your home showed amazing. We appreciate, we're one of the 19 offers that I'm sure that you're receiving. Congratulations on getting multiple offers on your beautiful property. We'd love, to be in the conversation when you decide on who's going to be purchasing your home. And we send a nice bottle of wine, easy Moscato. I always send like Sirocco Moscato. It's $15. It's super good. And everybody likes it. So that, and like maybe something personal to you as an agent. Like I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I always used to do Hershey bars, like big Hershey bars. And so then they would remember who I was, right? I think those kind of things are important, but you better clear that shit with the listing agent before you do it. Yeah. Otherwise,
you guys are bringing it today with the ideas. I love this. Erin says, great idea to investigate the agent a little bit. Little things can go a long way. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I would say don't send it to their office. Do a little bit of homework. Go into public records, get their home address, and send it to their home address.
Yeah.
In this market, Angela and I were joking last night, we are not above bribes. We are just this short of sexual favors, guys. So if you can do bribes and bring yourself going further, yeah. I do. So something that's been working really well for me is, I kind of feel like it's like, if you wanted to apply for like a job at Home Depot and you go to the store and they've got that little computer that you have to put your information in on, and they may get 1,000 resumes that week, there's zero way to differentiate who's who. And so I have felt like I've been going a little bit further by either sending like a little audio snippet or even a video of myself, just saying like, hey, I'm Lindsay. I'm sure you're like completely inundated with offers. I just wanted you to know who I am. These are the details. We're super excited to be offering. Thank you so much. And it's short, like 10 to 20 seconds maybe. And I feel like if the person that you're texting is an iPhone, which by the way, like Androids should just be outlawed for salespeople because iPhones are so impressive. But if it's an iPhone, like the thing that's great is I can see when they've listened to my audio message, even if they have like their text read off. So I know that they got it. But yeah, I think going a step further and finding that listing agent and trying to appeal to them is a huge deal. I personally ask all of my agent friends before I submit on anything if anyone knows the agent. If I don't, you could go to your broker, your team leader, anyone in your office. An introduction, a warm introduction helps to those agents.
And sometimes if your broker doesn't know that agent, they might know their boss. And so they can give a call to their boss and say, hey, one of my agents is offering on this property. I just want to let you know. We had a great transaction last time, but I'm going to keep an eye on this one and make sure that it gets to the closing line. It's just something small like that can reassure them, might help.
Yeah, that's good. I love to, again, Angela, your idea of dinner is such a good idea. And the reality is, as agents, we've got to accept, number one, that doesn't mean you're going to win that offer, but you better believe that next time you see that agent, you deepen your relationship. Relationship takes time, but it is about trust. For us, it is about trust. Who I think is going to get this done? Who's going to be easy to work with? Who's going to make this happen for us? But another thing that both of you have brought up, but I think about all the time, is one of the skills that we need as agents that I think is so often missed is the ability to see something from the other person's perspective. Right? Don't just think about your offer and you need to get it and bombard me of like, have you seen it? Have you seen it? What about this? What about that? Like understand, like you said, Lindsay, we're getting bombarded by people. So be understanding. Or the idea of dinner, Angela, is great. Hey, I know you're going to be overwhelmed. So let me take care of this for you. I wish you the best as you guys decide, whatever it is. But understanding and viewing it from their perspective is so important that I think we miss as salespeople. And it goes a long way. Even the quick video, Lindsay, is great. I mean, I want to know who I'm working with. There's so many agents. I don't know all of these people. So just a little bit to say, like, here's me, and I'm not crazy. I work really hard. I want to make this work. We love the opportunity. Like you said, Angela, send us a counter. We love the opportunity just to be in the game. Give us a chance. If anything, we're going to get a better deal for your client. So, give us a shot. I think all those things are really important. It's funny because none of us have talked about how do you win the price? Well, I mean, excuse me, how do you win the offer? Well, it's price and it's, closing costs. Because everyone's going to match you. I mean, that's just the name of the game. There's going to be so much to match. So you can't compete like that anymore. You've got to compete in a way that no one else is competing, because you can't win by doing what everybody's doing.
Right.
And I think that both of you gave great examples of how to be different.
So talking about how you can be different, what are some things that you have seen in offers that are really out of the box and different that get your attention really quickly as a listing agent?
Yeah, so what we've done, we offered to pay for a moving company to come. So that was on, the addendum. Like I said, we'll pay for the moving truck to come, up to $2,500 or whatever it was. I forget, we capped it obviously, but hey, let us do that. Let us move your stuff for you, right? Of course, the free rent backs, like you talked about, Lindsay, but that's getting pretty common. Honestly, Angela, there's not a lot of new things on an offer, like I said, because there's so many things you can't do, right? That we are.
What are some things you can't do? Let's go over that. What are some things you are not allowed to do?
The line is so fun. Last year, you guys, I wasn't a part of it, but an agent on my team was. Last year, buyers were walking through someone's house and noticed that they had Paris stuff all over the place. They bought them 2 round trips tickets to Paris. Like, there's crazy, the line. I don't know. I called Angela over the weekend and I was like, every other agent that I'm competing with is reducing their commission just by a smidgy, which is a whole entire other conversation. But, I'm going to reduce mine also. But I was like, can I pay half of my reduction to the freaking listing agent so they make more money so they're on my team? Like, it is, it's brutal. I don't know where the line is. I know where the line is. It's brutal.
Yeah. I think the Paris line is, you can't induce somebody to sell to you. So that maybe was a cross line, but whatever.
Big time.
You got to do what you got to do, I guess. Yeah. So
now the buyers, though, that's what's interesting. And hear us when we say this very clearly. When it comes to anything regarding gifting, incentivizing, padding, anything, speak to your broker and look at your guidelines for your governing boards where you live before you do anything. But it's important to double check. But the buyers are not bound by the same rules that we are.
And the contract is between the buyer and the seller. So if the buyer wanted to offer round trip tickets to Paris that they were paying for, they're not bound by inducement, duty.
Shouldn't go in the contract. If the buyer wants to send dinner to the sellers.
Yeah, we don't know about it, right? They can do whatever they want. So, I do think that it's all the pieces again is just trying to be creative, and understanding who these people are. Like like you said, Lindsay, if we aren't paying attention and they love Paris and we're like, hey, we got you tickets to England. I'd still be excited, but they're like, okay, well, you weren't paying attention to who I am. It's still, and I know that this is too simplistic, but it still comes down to everyone wants to be known and heard, right? And if we can show the agent, if we can show the seller that we know and we hear you, we see you, right? We know that you're not just a robot on the other side of this, just making a rational decision and moving on and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's more to you than that. We know there's more to you than that. We're going to acknowledge that. We're going to celebrate that about you. Those things are going to go a long way because it just will make it stand out. So whatever we can do, it's not always going to work, but it's very uncommon, at least for us, when a seller only makes a decision solely based off numbers. Our last 3 that we accepted were lower offers because 1, we thought the agent was really good because we know them, so that was hugely impactful. 2, because the buyer agent that was competing had a terrible offer, missed tons of checks, or didn't fill out boxes. We're like, they don't even know what they're doing, so that's not worth it, right? Or 3, the buyer did something that made our seller think that they were important too. And I think that's the way to stand out. Again, you're not going to win every time, but you're going to win a lot more than just sitting at a purchase price and no closing costs, because guess what? Everybody's doing that. So
I also want to point out that I've seen a lot of $250 is a year's worth of tacos. First of all, that is bullshit. $250 is like not even a week's worth of tacos in my household. So if you're guaranteeing a year's worth of food, you better know who you're buying it for. That needs to have an extra zero in my household. But that kind of thing, like, while it might be cute and funny and maybe get the attention of some people, it's not going to get you the deal. It might get you the attention of another agent in the market who thinks it's funny, but it's not going to really be something that is not going to give you the outcome that you really want, right? Being genuine and actually caring about people, that's what's going to get you the result you want. And unfortunately, you can't hide that. You can't fake that. You need to either have that or don't work with buyers, because right now a buyer needs somebody that's going to hold their hand and be a shoulder to cry on when they lose out on the house that they, it's their dream home, and you just couldn't get it for them because we did everything we could, but it wasn't that somebody offered $250 of tacos. That's not why you didn't get the house. Because at the end of the day, whether you offer, a trip to Disney and the trip to Disney is $10,000, or you offer $10,000 over, it's the same thing. They can do that with their money as they please. It's not about that. It's about how are you connecting with those people. So that's the difference. And, one of my agents last year put, their buyer was a world-renowned portrait painter. And she put into miscellaneous provisions that he would paint their family, like a custom picture for them. Nobody else can compete with that because no one else can do it. They got the offer, they got the house, and he got to, do this awesome portrait for them. But that's something money couldn't buy that. So experiences and memories are things that people can't put a price tag on. So create that instead.
I do think, it is, like, all joking aside, because obviously I love to joke, but it is a very fine line going after the sellers, right? That is a very fine line for agents. I am obsessed with the idea of going after the real estate agent instead. And, the cool thing is that agents are the most loud and proud people on planet Earth. So, like, you're never going to Facebook stalk an agent and not find every single thing that they like and love. They're free game, really. But I think you guys are both dead on. Going back to that, like, Home Depot resume example, how do you make it's the same thing as, like, resumes always just used to be like a little piece of paper. And now if you go on Etsy or you go on Fiverr and you look at them, they're beautiful. They have photos and backgrounds and pictures and all this, really, like, eye-grabbing stuff. And the reason for it is, like, humanizing the person behind the piece of paper and trying to connect it with the person who's doing the hiring, right? So it's the same thing here. You got to humanize yourself and your buyer somehow and figure out how to connect to the listing agent and the sellers.
Well, especially now that we're not allowed to send those sweet love letters anymore, right? And I don't want to see them as a listing agent. Like, don't send me that. Like, I'm immediately gonna throw it out. I don't care. I don't want to know, because I know it's gonna sway my seller, and that's not fair. I'd rather, you do something more personal than just send, pictures of your dog that you want to die in that house or something like that. But that's the whole reason why we have to do all these out of the box things, is because NAR was like, nuh-uh, you can't do that anymore. And so now
NAR is basically like, anything that can actually help the client, let's make that illegal. In the most historically unprecedented psychotic market of all time, let's try to make buyers pay their own agents when they need representation more than they've ever needed it in history, and they need to come up with a down payment and an appraisal gap and all their own closing costs. Let's throw the buyer's agent's fee on top of it too.
And by the way, if they're using a VA loan, they can't actually pay the buyer's agent fee.
Yeah,
that's illegal.
Aaron says, you guys, my mind is blown with all these great ideas to put yourself just a little ahead, hopefully enough to make that difference to put your offer in the lead. Yeah. And, I don't know. I mean, I think you've got to have the balls to back it up. You've got to have a killer offer. You've got to not be annoying somehow. So probably sending a bottle of wine is really cool, but following up 20 times and going, did you get the wine? Did you like the wine? Did you drink it with your husband?
Right.
And make sure we're not a recovering alcoholic, because we have a lot of those. P.S.
Oh, yes. No, yeah. Solid point. Don't send cookies or cupcakes to the girl agent that's on keto this week, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Send her cardboard cookies.
Again, it's not about the gift, like Garrett said. It's about finding out who these people are and connecting with them emotionally to put you ahead.
I think in all things real estate, and just in general, in all things real estate, if we can understand and ask ourselves the question, how do I engage the rational and the emotional? If you just keep asking yourself that question, whether it's with your client, whether it's with, another agent, whatever it is, like understanding that an offer is a rational thing. The emotions is, who are they? Who are you? How do you have some sort of engagement with the agent? How do you stand out? How do you show them that you care? How do you show them whatever? It doesn't matter. Leave a note when you're looking at the house that says, hey, I really love what you did with this room, and signed, my name and whatever. Right, just small things like that. That is just, oh, I really appreciate that, because guess what? The seller spent 2 weekends trying to build the nursery, and it's really meaningful to them that you care. Small things like that for people.
So you made me think about something that I did last year that I completely forgot about, that actually won us the deal, which sounds psycho, but now that you said that, I don't feel so psycho. See, I'm validated. So these people it was during COVID, like heavily COVID, and they had a sign-in sheet for everybody they had sitting on the table that they wanted agents to sign in, and I signed in, and then under my name I wrote, we're going to give you the best offer of all time ever, and make sure that you look really closely at it. Ask your agent for Lindsay's offer. And they took it. So I love your idea. Now I'm about to be like slipping love notes underneath their pillows or like in their bedside drawers while I'm at the house. Don't piss off the listing agent though.
No,
when you're doing
that. I agree.
Like that's a big deal. Don't, I would probably go so far as to be like, you have the best real estate agent in the whole wide world. Make sure they tell you about our offer, because you really, you don't want to piss off.
That's good. Yeah. And it's just something really simple that, like you said, Angela, earlier, it can't be faked if it's real. If you really do love something about the home, just say, it's what we do in listing appointments. Oh, I love that about your house, right? Did you guys do that yourself? Yeah, we did. It's beautiful. I'm not lying. I really do love it. I think the same thing, again, engage the rational and the emotional. That's how you're going to do it. And Aaron's right. You have to hire a stalker team in this market.
Yeah. If they have a pet, that's always the easiest pop by to a seller. And that's always the quickest way to their heart, just so you know, is a gift from your buyer's dog to their buyer's dog. And that's it. And you put a paw print on the thank you card and call it a day, wrap it up. You got a contract. I'm just telling you right now, that's how it goes. Just drive on over to Ron, spend $10, buy a box with a little dog bone on it, some treats and some balls to play with, and a couple of dog toys.
It's true. It's insanity. It isn't a joke. And if you don't believe, by the way, that all of my clients tell me this, by the way, but if you don't believe that in this day and age that every seller on planet Earth isn't Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, stalking every single, I just thought of something. Light bulb. Every single buyer on planet Earth that they're in contact with, you're wrong. They all know who each other are. Your buyers have Facebook stalked those sellers. The sellers have Facebook stalked your buyers, and they're making snap decisions on whether or not they like anyone. And now my brain just went light bulb. I'm about to tell my buyers, put on your Facebook, we're offering on 1234 Smith Road. We hope to God the sellers choose us, because they're looking at them.
Yeah.
They're looking at them.
Yeah, they will look at it.
And also remove all of your COVID-related posts, your political-related posts, your way that you vote. Take all of that away.
Please.
You have to be neutral.
Yeah. 50-50 shot. Yeah, you turn the other person away, and you're never going to get
Absolutely.
it.
I'll tell you, me as an agent, I look up the other agent if I don't know them. And if they're posting a lot of that shit, that might impact whether or not they get the transaction or not.
It does. Yeah, because there's got to be a level of relationship, 100%. And I would just encourage, I know we're out of time with you, but I would just encourage that if you're doing these things that we're talking about, the little extras to help your buyer, you may not be getting the offer, but you better believe you're building your business, right? Those clients have a deeper respect for you. They're telling their friends, well, my agent even dropped off the dog treat, from my dog, whatever. And the other person's like, what? My agent doesn't do anything, right? You are building your business. You're creating advocates for your business. You're standing out in the marketplace where it's very crowded. So it's hard, but don't be discouraged, because you are building it might not happen today, but long term, there's going to be a significant effect on
Yes.
the ways that you went above and beyond for your people, and I think that's really important to remember.
Aaron says, my neighbors, when they sold, Facebook their potential buyers to make sure they would be a good fit as our new neighbors, chatted up with the neighbors too. No, this is a real thing. Like, I'm not joking. Every day I have sellers selling their property, sending me screenshots of people from their Ring doorbells going, who are these people? Which offer is theirs? And then they're like, can you look these people up and find out who they are? So amongst all the madness, like Garrett is saying, these are human beings. And a home is not like, this is not buying or selling a used Toyota, you guys. People have a vision of who they want in their home. This home has taken care of their family. You know, it's got the score marks from their children's growth charts on the walls. It's where all of their memories are. They want that torch to be passed to someone that they feel comfortable with. And yes, there are sellers, Garrett said 95.5, but there are sellers out there, 5%, who will make a stone cold rational decision based on money. But that isn't the norm, I mean, at all. So any way that you can find to humanize your offer, humanize yourselves, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, and go talk to the neighbors. After you show the house and you decide you want to make an offer on it, get them on your team too. Your team is everybody from the neighbors. If the neighbors are your advocate also, they're going to come over later and be like, hey, I met these people. They were awesome. Here was their name. Their agent was super nice. Their kids played with my kids, whatever it was. Make yourself different. I also use my title people. If we share the same title company, I'm going to have my title reps call their title rep and say, hey, I work with her all the time. She's awesome. Can you get a message to so-and-so that these people are great and we're going to get to closing?
Lenders too. Angela.
Yeah, your lenders. Yeah, everyone. Insurance guy, whatever it is, use it to your advantage.
Okay, so I've got a crazy one. Angela is famous for when she does open houses, she drops off like little gifts and business cards to the neighbors that say something like, I'm so sorry that there's going to be all this traffic in your cul-de-sac or on your street this week. I'm doing an open house. Here's 2 movie tickets. Go to a movie on me during the open house so you don't have to be annoyed by it. What about going to all the neighbors and dropping off a card? That is not protected. The love letter is not protected from you going to the 3 neighbors on either side and dropping a little picture and a love note going, we really want to be your neighbors. Please pick us.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Totally.
That's a really good idea.
We're going to be crazy.
Yeah.
We're level 27 stalkers.
Like, here's a pan of brownies or whatever. Like, you know, we hope to, you know, have you guys as neighbors in the future, that kind of thing. Like something that's going to make you different. And like, here's a picture of us so you know who we were, right? Even if it's a Polaroid that you can just snap a quick picture.
Aaron says, I had clients win a bid that wasn't even the highest because they spoke to the Ring video, promising to take care of the elderly neighbor after chatting with that neighbor. What a great way to humanize. Yeah. Talking to the Ring doorbell, that did not cross my mind.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
If you don't think they're going to watch that Ring doorbell, you are wrong. You're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure that you're on camera. Like, make sure that you're prepared.
Yeah. When we sold our last house, we would sit there and watch, and there was one particular couple that went through, I think it was in our nursery. My wife had worked really hard, and they said something like, we just really don't like how this is designed or whatever. And my wife was super offended, so we didn't sell to them.
Yeah.
You know, like, whatever, we're allowed to do whatever we want to do, you know? And so it because again, it's not just a rational decision. Like, hey, if they don't respect anything that we've done, like, that's kind of hurtful. So no, you're not going to get my house.
As annoying as it is to have those clients that are all, because like this happens to me all day. I shouldn't say annoying, as time consuming as it is to have those clients all day long that are sending you snapshots or like videos as people are walking through the house. That means you have a super strong connection with your clients. If your clients aren't telling you that they're stalking people and watching those cameras, they are. Like, I guarantee, like they sit across the street before Ring doorbells existed and watch everything. They sit at the house next door and watch everything. Like, they are watching you.
They're at the neighbor's house.
And they're for 41 minutes. Yeah, right. The neighbors are reporting or whatever.
They were 17 seconds late, Garrett. How dare they?
Yeah. When we leave, after we went through the house, when we as a group leave the house and I close the door and lock the lockbox, I always get on the Ring doorbell and I say, hey, so-and-so family, I'm so-and-so. These are my clients. And I make them wave. And I'm like, hey, we're going to be sending you an offer. We loved your house. Just make sure that you look for our offer. We're going to send it over to Carrie or whatever. But thanks again for letting us see it.
Now I know why I'm losing. Screw you. I'm learning. So a couple things before we sign off. Angela and I have been using this really cool, really graphic, appealing offer cover letter to kind of give that synopsis to the listing agent of what our offers look like. We will get that out for free to anyone who wants it. It's editable in Canva. It's really cute. You can put your logo and your own colors and your pictures and everything on it, but you can text it. You can upload it into DocuSign or whatever, CTME, whatever you use. And then also, Garrett, thank you so much for your time today. Garrett, you guys, is one of my favorite humans on planet Earth. He coaches agents on how to work referral businesses. I'm going to put his referral coaching program up in the chat box just so anyone who's interested can connect with Garrett. But he's amazing. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I learned a lot today.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I think I learned.
Would you like to see, as a listing agent, would you like to see like a cover letter that's like the hot sheet of like all the details of an offer, so you don't have to go through the whole offer, and like have something that says lenders verified, funds that are guaranteed in the account, like all of that stuff, so you don't even have to do any of the legwork? Wouldn't that be super beneficial as a listing agent to see that?
100%.
Cases.
Yeah. So it's super easy that can set you apart, that you can text or email or add to the cover of your offer, so that it's super easy for that agent to put it into a spreadsheet later. And then you don't have to, worry about taking up any more of their time.
Yeah, 100% true.
I think what I learned today is to be more aggressive in completely different ways, right? So like aggressive used to mean, I don't know, just writing the strongest offer and making sure that it was cleanly written and everything was good and all of that jazz. What I learned today is everyone is doing that. And so we need to be aggressive in any way that is legal that, can get us an upper hand.
While the money is awesome and likely will be the deciding factor, it's not just about the money. Anybody can give the money. Most people can qualify for whatever that amount is that they're asking for, but you're not going to be in that same room with a conversation if you don't do those other things. You'll get beat out.
Right. And they list it for a price, right? Because that price works for them. Whatever that means, however much they're going to net. So when you go way above it, at that point, you're pinching pennies. The difference is that's not what it's going to come down to. So,
whether somebody's making $200,000 on their house that they thought they were going to make 50 grand on, or they're making $205,000.
It's not big difference.
That's significant. So how are you going to set yourself apart? Just like you do with your clients, you have to set yourself apart 100%. From other realtors.
I feel like, in the beginning, we were talking about the level of competition, like just in Denver, and it's like this in a lot of places. You've got under 3,000 houses on the market and 50,000 licensed real estate agents almost. Like, good luck to the other 49,999 that aren't going to pick up doing this stuff, because I think we will wipe the floor with people if we do it correctly.
I do feel like, too, once word gets out that your buyers are getting their offers accepted, and it's not just a one-off thing and it's a trend, other buyers who keep losing out that are now like, what else can we do? They're looking for an edge. They're eventually going to fire their agent and be hiring someone else. And if you do this the right way, eventually you might be getting a lot more business from it.
Absolutely. 100% true. Thanks all for having me. I had fun. I always have fun with y'all, but I had fun today too. So
you're brilliant. You made my brain explode. So thank you. We'll see you soon. Everyone reach out to Garrett.
All that I know. So.
Everyone reach out to Garrett for coaching. He's the best. And if you have referrals in Northeast Virginia, call Garrett.
Southeast.
I'll
take them in Northeast. I'll pass them to a friend. It doesn't matter. Anywhere in Virginia, send it to me and I'll take it.
Virginia. Garrett is in Virginia and I failed geography. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.